This black pigment on here is Rocky Mountain beeweed. It's a plant that grows all over the Southwest. And what the Indians would do in prehistoric times is pick this plant and put it in a container and boil it until nearly all the water is out of it, and then it becomes a thick paste. Then they could paint it on, and the pigment actually penetrates the pottery. Then when they fire it, it's part of the pottery. This has been laying out in the open since about 1200 AD. This is Jetito black on yellow. Again, this is Rocky Mountain beeweed color. This is hematite. It's a pigment. It's made out of the yellow clay that's found on the Jetito Wash. It runs under I-40 over there, the other side of Gallup, New Mexico. Here's pottery that call it corrugated pottery. These perforations in here could be either made by fingers or some kind of a stick implement. That a lot of times you can see human fingerprints where they press that in there. Like this is Pueblo III pottery. I can tell by the painting in it. This dates probably 1150 AD. This is called an Apache tear. This was blown out of a volcano, but then when the volcano blows, this is molten. It's not solid, but it's just barely molten. It could be a big blob of black glass is what it is. When it blows up in the sky 2,000 feet, it takes a shape, and before it hits the ground, it's solid. So when it's in the ground and bounces, it's what they call an Apache tear. There are places in Arizona where this stuff is 3 feet deep. Indians love this stuff because it's volcanic glass is what it is. It breaks in conchoidal fractures, which means they can flake it into arrowheads or different kinds of tools. This is the handle to a ladle for dipping water out of a container or something. It's hollow because if this was solid clay, then when they fired it would probably break because it's so thick that it could not distribute the heat fast enough, so it breaks so what happened is the Indians would fill this up with sand, but after it was fired, they didn't want the sand to stay in there. So what they would do is put a wooden stick all the way through this thing and just leave it in there. Then when they fire this ladle, the stick burns, of course, and leaves a hole here. And so the Indians would dump the sand out through that hole. But some of the sand had little rocks in it that are too big to get through the hole when they dump it out. And when you shake it, it rattles. So they call these things baby rattle ladles. I found a few of these things. They're wonderful. This old stuff is so beautiful, I think. Look at that. Now this is very coarse. I'm sure this was a cooking vessel, made as a cooking vessel, which means it's fired at a lower temperature. I can't break that, but a lot of them you can break. And these are what they call clouds. When they was in the firing and they stacked the fuel around this unfired pot in the process of firing it, why every place that where something leaned against the pot to prevent air from getting there, that means it's fired in a reducing atmosphere at that spot, so it's black. This is a biscuitware. This was made up around Abiquiu, New Mexico, north of Santa Fe, and this is type B because it's painted inside and out.
Why is it biscuitware?
That's just the name that somebody put on it. Again, Rocky Mountain beeweed. Indians love this time. This is schist. Garnets grow in schist. And it sparkles, and it's, I think these things were medicine rocks. When you find something and you don't know what it is, you usually call it ceremonial or medicine. Beautiful old purple glass. when I stopped using tungsten, it changed the whole complexion of these things.
So that would obviously be much younger.
Yeah, this could be 1850 or something. Here's a broken mono. It's made out of basalt, but you can see it was about this long, and they'd push out and pull back. These are facets made by somebody grinding corn. I love that piece. This is actually Sityaki pottery. This dates between 14 and 1600 AD. This is Pueblo 4, jetted oak clay. And you can see where human fingers have scraped this. Look at this, isn't that beautiful? The paintbrush was made out of some kind of fiber material, vegetation. Here's some red hematite. That's jetted oak clay also. See, this is another ladle handle, but they made it small so it doesn't have to be hollow. I don't know whether this is design or whether this means something to somebody, or whether it was just a design that they wanted to use. Now here's an interesting thing. This is Arizona pottery. The red is hematite pigment, but this was a bowl, but it had a crack in it. So they didn't want to lose the pot. So what they did was drill a hole on either side of the crack, and they tied it together with sinew or some kind of a fiber thread or cord. Isn't that interesting? You can see where a pump drill or a bow drill drilled this hole. And I'm sure that there's another one over here because they were trying to prevent that crack from breaking and going clear across the pot.
So they weren't making pots with handles?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, there's some in here. Here's one. This is not a painted pot. It's never even been burnished on the outside. So this would store grain or food or water. This pottery, that's not, the Indians, there was only one time in the Southwest when the Indians fired pottery high enough temperature to make stoneware, and that was about 1850 when the Hopis were firing pottery with coal, and probably they had some kind of a bellows to fire it, and they could make it stoneware. This pottery, all of this pottery here, will not hold water over a long period. This stair-step design is a typical prehistoric design in the Southwest. I don't know what it means, but this pot evidently had some red on it someplace. This is Rocky Mountain beeweed, black. It paints, this stuff paints on here brown, but when you fire it, it turns black. They call it jetted black on yellow. But this is a hematite paint that's either, I think this is a mistake the Indian made. I don't think this is a deliberate design here. But it tells me that this pot had some red on it someplace. Another type of a ladle handle where it has an indented, a concave handle. No biscuit ware. Here's an interesting design. Somebody was having fun. And I don't know what this container was. It's just barely concave. It could be some kind of a tablet. Now this is This is volcanic lava. This is what you see pouring out of volcanoes today, running down the side of the hill. This is actually lava, which means it's melted rock. Pottery smoothers. See how this has been packed? See the different coloration there? That means this was made to pack something on all 3 points. Here's more. This is probably an old whiskey bottle. It has numbers on the bottom of it. This thing could date real easy to 1850. This may have been an old liquor bottle. More biscuitware, more jetado. This is beautiful jetado design. Isn't that nice? Rocky Mountain beeweed and jetado clay. Well, here's a piece of chalcedony. You can see where they've taken a billet off of a big core like this. They hit it with a deer antler or elk antler and knock it off. You always have a bulb of percussion. That tells me that the stacking platform was right here. Big bulb of chalcedony. And when they knock it off, you always have the bulb of percussion, and then you have a resonance that comes around here, and it's very sharp. Like if you took a BB into your window at home, shot your window at home, makes a perfect little round circle. That's a fracture just like this. They call them a waste flake or a conchoidal fracture. And you always have a sharp edge around this, and Indians loved to use those as knives. Sometimes when they would get dull, they'd sharpen it once or twice. Here's a piece of jetado black on yellow, but these are all utilized surfaces. 1, 2, 3. They were doing something with this. See how smooth that is? A million different designs. Here's another hole. This is up near the rim, so they're trying to tie a crack together so that it won't continue to break. They died big hole on this side, little hole here, which means that they had a drill that all they needed to do was get through. They didn't need to make this hole as big as this one. They just needed to be big enough so that they could tie it together with animal sinew or some kind of vegetal material. The Indians that lived in Arizona made much more beautiful pottery than the New Mexico Indians. I don't know that they knew where the border was, but